So having the ability to wear a gas detector that gives me a local alert whenever toxic gases are starting to increase in their percentage that might affect me is fabulous to have that. Being able to alert my coworkers that I'm now being exposed to toxic gases, and if I need to get support and know when I need to get support, is the next advancement. I think in technology and how the role it can play.
How do safety protocols differ between older and newer steel plants?
Yeah, I would say that one, the newer facilities are generally built with more modern equipment that may come with more inherent safety features. Older equipment may have over time, been retrofitted to include some safety equipment. And I think in a lot of cases, the newer equipment might be more automated, requiring less employee kind of involvement in the production, of steel.
So are we talking robotics?
It could be in some case robotics, sure. It could be automation. It could be the kind of the mechanized the movement of the product from one step of the operation to another. But oftentimes those more modern equipment can create new hazards too, right? So you have to take steps, you raise robotics, which is a great example. So previously, that might have required some manual intervention for an employee to move something from point A to point B. And now technology, is enabled to be able to do that robotically. But if an employee goes into an area where robotics is actually moving, say, pieces of steel or maybe parts and et cetera, that can create hazards with struck by because the robot may not know that the employee's there. So you have to put protection mechanisms in place. So even though there's been advancements in technology, you still have to do area assessments, you have to do risk assessments, and you have to kind of build your safety processes, from the foundation up, to address those types of unique hazards that are part of your process.
Yeah. So I kind of want to stay on the innovations and kind of safety gear and equipment subject. So can you talk a little bit about some of the latest advancements that you've seen in your experience in personal protective equipment and various safety technologies that are making a difference in steel plants today or could potentially make that difference in steel plants tomorrow?
Well, I think there's been, you just go back and kind of, in time. And there's generally, some type of a historical center at some of the older plants because, they were built in maybe the 20s or maybe even earlier, right? And over 100 years old. And you look at kind of the progression of safety and the importance of safety at companies, it has evolved tremendously. It is really clear. And that's enabled by, one, PPE manufacturers building more robust PPE that further protects the employee and reduces the impact, when an incident occurs. At one time, people wore wool, right, as kind of the heat prevention, right? And now they wear aluminized clothing, and carbon, fiber type protective gear to help protect them. From a technology perspective, just go back in time. It was a canary in the coal mine, right? That was detecting toxic gas, carbon monoxide. And now you've got very advanced sensors that are part of gas detectors that can detect, hundreds of different types of toxic gases at very extremely low levels to provide, alerting to employees. So the advancement of technology, the advancement of technology across the spectrum, has created a better ability to deal with risks and respond to risks. I think if I was going to say, what is kind of this new evolution, I would say connected work, right? So having the ability to wear a gas detector that gives me a local alert whenever toxic gases are starting to increase in their percentage that might affect me is fabulous to have that. Being able to alert my coworkers that I'm now being exposed to toxic gases, and if I need to get support and know when I need to get support, is the next advancement. I think in technology and how the role it can play in an industrial setting like steel manufacturing.
Interesting. So I guess I'll kind of play devil's advocate here. So if there's connected devices that are out there or are in the market today, what's the hesitation from a company standpoint? You'd think it'd be a simple answer. There's something here that can save workers' lives. Yes, we're going to invest in it because we care about our people. But I don't think it's as easy as it's as easy as just saying it, right? What is the hesitation?
I think that a lot of these steel companies, have done a tremendous job. Right? They really have of kind of driving administrative controls to a level that kind of the lagging indicator frequencies are, world class, as good as anywhere in the world, if not better. And I think that they've become so confident in their administrative controls that there's a little bit of a sense of we're not sure technology plays a role here. Unfortunately, there are occasions when technology could play a role. And I think it's just a matter of people getting comfortable that, moving to that next level in the hierarchy of controls with the deployment of technology can actually kind of reduce even further the likelihood of having, these types of events. The skepticism. It's why do I need that technology? My administrative controls are working really well for me today. And I think over time you'll just see more and more folks start to adopt the technology and see, how it can actually drive that next level of performance.
Yeah. So, you think about some of the bigger organizations out there that, have voiced publicly that they're focused on safety. ArcelorMittal Safety Management, their zero harm policy. You have U.S. Steel's safety overhaul a few years ago, Tata's behavioral safety approach that they've taken, Nucor's emergency response improvement plan that they put in place, and even companies like POSCO. POSCO's integrated their own smart safety technology in some of its mills using wearable tech to monitor workers' health indicators and real-time risk detection systems. How can companies that are maybe on the lagging end, how can we or how can those organizations feel more comfortable adopting those new technologies and changing processes that have been in place for, call it 100 years?
Yeah. I mean, and the list of steel companies that have their safety initiatives as a priority, CMC is another one, SDI is another one, Cleveland Cliffs is another. All well-respected institutions that I believe confidently that they're trying to look out for their best interest of their employees day in and day out, 365. I think a lot of it has to do with just getting the confidence that, one, the technology can make a difference, right? And drive additional kind of improvements in risk mitigation. I think, too, there's a little bit of skepticism with the workers. And I've seen it in both non-union shops as well as union shops, where what are you going to do with the data you're collecting? Because, as we talk about technology, it's location tracking, geolocating, right? So knowing where the employees at any given time so you're able to respond more quickly whenever they need help. Maybe you're collecting biometric data, which may be employees, personal information that is being collected. How do you actually put kind of barriers in place so that data only gets used for its intended purposes, so that it's driving just safety performance improvement and looking out for the best interest of the worker? And then
how do you communicate that to workers?
Well, I think it's one, full transparency. I think change management is an absolute essential requirement of technology adoption. Getting the management team and the workers to sit down and say, hey, here's why we think we need to do this. Here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to use the data. And this is how it's going to benefit you and us, right? And just having that open, honest dialogue. That's generally the ways that I've found in order to really try to change the way that we've done things in the past, is just getting the worker buy-in, and you sit down and just be very candid with why you want to do it and what it can do for them. And generally you get pretty good responses.
Got it.